Okay, here we sit, tied 1-1, round two, Memphis Warriors. Last time we spoke, I said I've got Memphis in 7. It killed me to say it, but that's how I felt. It's not what I wanted, it's what I felt. It was trying to use my head with my pick. Golden State comes into Memphis game 1 and absolutely steals a game. Draymond gets ejected. The refereeing, somehow, some way they pull it out. And hell yeah, it started to make me feel better about the series for the Warriors. How could you not when you steal that game, the context around that? But here's the thing. There were two main reasons, two players that made me feel better about the Warriors' chances moving forward in the series. One was Andrew Wiggins. We don't really know how Andrew's going to perform on this type of stage because he's never been on it. And it appears that he has dialed in his focus and ratcheted up his effort level. And you can see it on the glass, right? He's playing a different role. He's playing a hustle energy type of role for this Warriors team, at least in this series. So I'm like, all right, bet. If Wiggs is going to give us that really helps our lack of size and athleticism. And then the other part was obviously GP2. The smallest big man we've ever seen, right? And his ability to be on jaw, and I don't got to explain it to you, right? But those were the two X factors where I was like, if we're going to get that from those two, Warriors are going to make it out of the series. Game 2 starts. And look, man, I'm tired of people not willing to say whether they think it's intentional or not. You don't have to be right. Say what you think. And I'll say what I think. Hell yeah, it was intentional. Absolutely, it was intentional because the dude never jumped. Wind up. I know Dub Nation's still mad about it. As a competitor, it's got me hot, right? Like my old ass want to get on the floor and throw somebody around because of it. And there has to be repercussions for that. I guess today they came out and said Dillon Brooks is suspended for game 3 Saturday. Well, that just helps Memphis because he's been trash, right? That's a hell of a move from Dillon Brooks from a strategic standpoint, right? You take out our best defender on your best player and you remove yourself from the game. Here's the funny thing with this intent rule, right? When they always are very quick to remind us when they go to the review booth, they're like, look, intention doesn't matter, right? When it's a blow to the head, intention doesn't matter. 30 seconds after GP2 goes down, Draymond eats a bow, right? He's bleeding. He's got to go to the locker room. They review it and they go, oh, no, it's a common foul, which was the right call. Because why? There was no intent, right? So it's got to work both ways. I don't know how that works with that. But, look, all of a sudden, I haven't wanted to win a series or beat a team this bad since, the 18 Houston Rockets, right? This is just raised the level of intensity from the fan bases and obviously the players on the floor. Look, I want to try to explain this because especially like on Twitter and people in messaging, you lose the tone. It's not as easy to explain things. I'm not saying go hurt Dillon Brooks or go hurt Ja, but within the lines of the game, you heard, Kendrick Perkins, maybe the smartest thing he's ever said, right? There's ways to be physical without being dirty. And that's what I'm talking about. And you see every opportunity Memphis gets to put Steph on his butt, they've taken it. Whether that's him fighting over a screen, someone crashing in for a rebound, like if there's going to be a foul or some sort of physical contact on Steph, they're making him feel it. And the Warriors have to deliver that back to Memphis. When Dillon Brooks does check back in, it's a green light on him. It is what it is. And some people, again, people are afraid to say these things. In my eyes, it's an eye for an eye as far as like, yeah, someone's going to take a shot on Dillon Brooks. You talk about breaking the code. You heard Steve Kerr say, hey, he's broke the code. Part of the code is someone going to take a shot at Dillon Brooks. I'm not saying hurt him. I'm saying there's going to be a shot, right? Now, as far as strategy goes for that game 2 in particular, it's funny because you hear some people say, well, it's the offense. And I agree overall, the offense is problematic. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But the old adage, defense wins championships. And down the stretch of that game, listen, Desmond Bane is a shell of himself, right? Whatever back issues he has, you can tell he really doesn't want the ball. He was trying to just be out there with the presence and his gravity, right? Jaren Jackson Jr. fouled out of the game on a charge on Draymond Green with like 5 minutes to go. Dillon Brooks, he had been tossed. So those are the three sidekicks for Ja Morant, if you will. Those are the three guys in the pecking order after Ja. They're off the floor or compromised. Ja is headed towards 50 points, and we continued to let him cook on an island. You know, I think I have all the empathy in the world for GP2, but I think the Warriors were in shock, right? And their game plan was, hey, we're going to have GP2 down the stretch of the games, and they didn't adjust in time. You have to send a trap at him and get the ball out of his hands, especially in those circumstances. And so moving forward, you better believe with 3 days off, there's going to be different game plans. They're going to have to send different looks at Ja. I understand how athletic he is, and look, sending a late trap, I don't think it'll help. He's too slithery. As soon as a ball screen comes up, you got to trap him up high. You got to get out of his ball. You got to get the ball out of his hands as soon as possible. And it was interesting, if you watched that Suns Mavericks game 2 last night, you saw how that played out with Dallas and Phoenix, where Phoenix went at Luka Doncic 50 times in an ISO switch on a pick and roll throughout the game, because again, the best defense on Luka, Ja, or like you saw with Jokic, is offense. And the off-ball motion offense from the Warriors, letting Ja kind of hide in the corner and maybe switch. They didn't attack Ja defensively, because that's going to be our best defense against Ja. Now, part of that problem is if you watch Draymond, they're not defending Draymond. Draymond as the screener in the high pick and rolls, it puts so much pressure on Steph and Poole coming off those screens, and that's in part some of those turnovers. Some of it's just on them. Steph Curry, there's such thing as a pocket pass, my guy. It doesn't have to come over the head. I promise you. But so they've got to pick on Ja like Phoenix did Luka. What you saw Dallas do to combat that was interesting, was they dropped into a zone behind one defender on the ball, right? On Chris Paul. Whoever came up to set the screen for the switch, that allowed Dallas to send a preferred defender up for the switch, rather than these soft switches, as you saw in that game too. You don't really want Jordan Poole, just soft switching that shit, or Clay. So perhaps there can be that strategy you saw Dallas, where you drop into a zone, one on the ball, and then you can kind of pick at least who the switcher is. But sometimes you just got to trap him. You can't show him the same look over and over again when he's cooking like that. That is ultimately why I felt, as bad as I wanted that game to, we didn't deserve to win it with that type of defensive strategy down the stretch of the game. I know a lot of people are going to point to the shooting. Clay and Steph, like 20, what's Clay shooting? 23%, and his windows are too tight right now. If you watch, he's trying to get up threes in too tight of windows, so his feet aren't really set. He's kind of leaning. He's off balance, and you're just seeing an older team against a younger team right now. I wouldn't expect the shooting to all of a sudden just be back to what it was, because of the effort, intensity, and physicality of this series. That's what it's going to be. When the teams are playing this hard, no one's going to shoot that well. Well, except for Ja Morant, right? That's the other thing. Are you going to play the law of averages? Are you going to let him just hezzy and walk into those butt-naked threes? He's getting too comfortable. Now, I hate to be this guy, right? And, Memphis fans, look, it's almost unfair to Memphis's fan base right now and how good of a young team this is, because they've kind of been robbed of their credit for the first, 2 games of the series, because one, the refereeing, right? Like, Memphis didn't choose for this refereeing, but they've had an unfair advantage with that. And then the dirty call. So there's just been a lot of stuff, right? But Ja Morant's carrying the basketball. Again, I hate to be this guy. And here's the thing. There's fans that are going to say, hey, guys travel and carry on every possession. They do. And where you'll see it a lot of the time is when a guy comes up to get the ball high at midcourt at the hash mark, right? They catch it, they'll kind of chop their feet, change their pivot, and then turn and start the set of offense or the attack, right? But here's the thing. Why that isn't called is because no advantage is created. There's a lot of carries and travels that aren't called because it happens at midcourt or where guys aren't really looking to attack. And the ref's like, all right, no advantage was created. Let's just play through it. The carrying that Ja is getting away with is giving a massive advantage to the quickest player in the league, right? And so at some point, You got to clean that up. He doesn't need that advantage. He's so gifted. He's so athletic. But to let him hang the ball and hezzy that long and kind of shuffle his feet, load his feet for an explosion, it's a massive advantage created. So it has to be looked at. And so now the Warriors have given a timeline of like 3 weeks, 4 weeks for GP2. I don't expect him to play again this season. But the dude, if anybody could, it's GP2. He's tough as hell. Can you imagine that, man? We've all hit our funny bone. Imagine a real serious injury to the elbow. My God, man. Anyway, no Andre. Still neck disc issue another week. So now Steve Kerr is forced to use the rookie. Hopefully we see both rookies. I wouldn't mind seeing Moses Moody in there. He's physical. He rebounds well. Doesn't seem, look, he's not much younger than this Memphis Grizzly team, you know? So you never know what you might stumble into, but it's Kuminga time, baby. It's Kuminga time. Use him in the pick and roll. Allow him to be a vertical spacer and use his athleticism around the rim. Yeah, he's going to get in foul trouble. Let him foul out. Use him until you can't, right? You know, it's funny. And I know this isn't apples to apples. At that stage, Robert Horry had probably played a lot more basketball than Jonathan Kuminga has right now. But I remember a rookie Robert Horry really helping the Houston Rockets make it all the way through the West. So we'll see. I think we're going to see a drastically different strategy against Ja, attacking him, and that means changing the offense. And it also means, look, Draymond's got to sit his butt in the dunker spot, man. He's going to have to be down there and be out of these screen actions, be a hustle player, hit the offensive glass, be prepared to attack when it's dropped off to you. He's going to have a little bit of a role reversal in order to really utilize the pick and roll and relieve some pressure from our guards and get some better perimeter shots. Right? And so I can't call it. Who knows? You know, you see how fickle these playoff situations become. 1 second, Boston's the favorite. Milwaukee rolls them by. It's game to game, especially with the war of attrition and health. I still think the Warriors can pull this off, and you got to favor they still stole one. That's the reality of it. They stole game one on the road. So they've stolen home court advantage. I fear that this series is going to get so intense and physical and drawn out that regardless of who comes out of it, that'll be it. They'll have nothing left, right? The cost of winning this round 2 is going to take everything from both sides of these teams. And so it really looks like it's kind of cleared a path for the Suns to get back to the finals, right? But Chris Paul could come up. I don't want to jinx y'all, but he could, something. So it's a game at a time strategy here, but strategically speaking, there's got to be significant changes on both sides of the basketball for the Warriors in this Game 3 Saturday.